Blessings, 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 family. Praises to the Most High Yah, unto His holy name, unto the Holy Spirit, which is wisdom and acknowledgement of our upcoming Messiah. Welcome back, Yah Royals, to another video. I shared in the last video that I was going to come back on and talk about 520 2520. I was going to show you the breakdown, what I stated in the previous video. But before we go there, I want to share of a video that a young lady, happened to be a Caucasian lady, had a vision. I'm not going to share all of it, but just as I'm led to. And then I'll go into the 520, which how they got that number and how it ties back to us. Not quite sure all in all, but I will definitely bring it forth. I want to start off also by saying that I truly believe that Father is taking us in levels. We, of course, came to understand who we are in the, as it is called, the awakening, which makes me, which led me to share her video because she was bringing forth about the awakening. Okay. Then for us to understand and know about the scriptures, to be able to study and show ourselves approved. Understanding Isaiah 28 and 9 and 10 about the precepts. Going from the Old, going to the New Testament, and also the other books that were taken out of the Apocrypha, the Apocrypha, which is the hidden books. And then now it's like we in another phase, or, another level where with all that we know that we are the biblical Israelites, that we could, read and know through the scriptures and understand his ways, being really reintroduced. See, we were told about a God, but we never knew, about him in a sense. We knew of him. See, when we got intimate in the scriptures and reading and studying, we became more of knowing of him, not just knowing about him. And I say this because it's a difference. We always, circle around the Son, which is Jesus Christ, JC. We always circle around him, and everything we're, betting on, us going through Jesus Christ. So when you think about all the energy and all that one's put around and all the money in itself from images, a picture, just think back how many churches is in the world, synagogues or churches, and ones have crosses in it. Ones have pictures of JC as he is, that have been shown to the world as a Caucasian or European man. Just think how much money they made on those window panes, the crosses that go in the church, the steeple with the crosses. I mean, they have made buku money off selling the Bibles, different version of the Bibles, and all of it ties back to us as our, special, intimate, far as personable scriptures that was written unto the Israelites by Israelites as the Most High put his spirit on his people. So in all this, it's like we've came through different levels to understand, to know who we are, and we search to see how that made sense, how that add up, and then to understand about the Most High, and to understand we really never knew him. We knew of him. You understand? Not we didn't know that the power that came with it because we were so circling around, Jesus Christ. But in the awakening and start reading, we start understanding that, wait a minute, the Most High is powerful, and He have done some things throughout, the scriptures, how He could open up the earth and ones will fall in, or He would, these different earthquakes and hurricanes and wind and whatnot. Hail is a spirit; those are spirits that He uses to come on the earth and to judge the earth. So we know that He's powerful, right? We had a sense that He's powerful, but through reading His scriptures, that brought us closer to Him to know He's powerful, right? So I just want to say at the beginning of my aha moment about knowing that Jesus Christ, could be not what it is all up to be, is after me starting reading and studying, I realized that He was like a distant person from me when He used to be at somewhat the forefront, because I used to pray all, basically in His name, just usually saying His name, and say, leave it to Jesus. What would Jesus do? And whatnot, and things like that, just using it and not really understanding the basis of it. But I remember as I got to start reading the Bible and start understanding more about the Almighty, the Most High Yah, then Jesus Christ start becoming smaller to me in a lot of ways, where I even felt at one point guilty because I wasn't including. I mean, it's like if He was not there, and I even had spoke to the Most High one day, and I said, I felt guilty because I wasn't acknowledging Jesus Christ. I would acknowledge Him in my spiel, like my introduction, but that was it. It's like He was getting just distance or smaller or not even there. So I think that was like a moment for me that brought me even in closer to look upon why this was happening, and that what started this. And this, I want to say, about 6 months ago, family, that I started noticing, and then I started going more in depth, right, into this whole matter of me, wanting to find the truth, because the Most High, when you focus in on Him and you study and you seeking His face, there's nobody else. There's nobody else. And then you start seeing the Most High ways, how He operate, coming from, Genesis all the way through. And then you look at the New Testament. When I got into the New Testament, once I read the whole complete chapter, I'm sorry, the whole complete Bible, and then went into the New Testament, I became and went, pretty much at a standstill. And that's when I started searching. When I got to, I want to say, Romans, that's when everything just like opened up and said, wait a minute, this ain't right. Something is not right. So I went on a further quest to understand the scriptures, because if everyone can be included, as the New Testament said, then what the Old Testament will be really null and void. But so much that I felt a connection with the Old Testament, the Almighty, when reading, whether He brought judgment or not, I felt a connection. But in the New Testament, I wasn't feeling anything. It was a whole different, you could tell, a spin, a whole different, style of writing, a whole different type of mode. And then, they're like, well, it was a gap in between Malachi and Matthew's. But still yet, it should be a flow, because the Old Testament was a flow. You went from Genesis, it went even, some things may have been shifted around, however, but it was a flow. It was a storyline. It was telling you a story. So that what made me look further, more in depth, family. So then, as I said, now we moving into a realm to seek and search and get, once we already know, we the biblical Israelites, once we have read and studied and know the scriptures and know and understand the most high ways, now we are moving into an area where we're gonna wean things out and we're gonna search and seek him. And I truly believe this is where we at now. You may not be here yet, or you've been here already and you far gone, I don't know. But this is really something to, for us to really, get deeper in, right? So I'm going to share her video about the awakening, and I'm not going to play much of it, but I'm going to play some of it just for you to get an idea about the awakening, and then we'll move forward.
Silly to be on YouTube, but what the heck? I mean, what do we have to lose? Like, life is short. I'm just a normal person, of course. I'm a nobody, but in 2016, God gave me just a burden to pray, and I just sensed, like we all did, that things were looking dire and desperate, and people were confused. I was confused, and I just began to cry out to God in a simple prayer, like, what are you doing? I just would say, what are you doing, God? And he just, I really believe that it was a matter of timing, and I would wake up in the middle of the night at 3 or 4 in the morning for like 4 or 5 nights in a row, and just lay awake, and the next morning be exhausted. And so after about the 4th or 5th night, I just got up, and I was like, I might as well get up and pray and read the Bible, get in the Word, and I'm going to be tired anyway, might as well pursue God. And maybe he's trying to get my attention. So, like Eli, so I got up and I just prayed a simple prayer. This was in about August of 2016, August, September. And I just prayed, what are you doing, God? I don't want to sit on the sidelines and watch anymore. I want to play. I want in on this game. I want to play. I want to participate. And then I just prayed, God, who should I vote for? That was it. And I just waited. And in the stillness of my soul, quieting my mind and quieting my soul and just waiting on the Lord, I got a picture in my mind, and I'm very, very sane. If you don't believe or whatever in the supernatural or God's ability to communicate with his people through his Rhema word, then I don't know how to help out there, but I'm just going to share what happened to me. So I just received what I would call visions, or like pictures in my mind. So I've already shared about the 5 strongholds and the altar one. It's up on YouTube. And if one person sees it and it makes them cry out to God and somehow give their life to Jesus, that's great. But I'm going to talk about another vision I had. I ended up getting woken up at 3 in the morning, around there, every day for about 2 or 3 weeks in a row. I never had to set my alarm. I just would wake up, wide awake, like totally alert. And after the 5 strongholds and altar vision, God showed me a vision about a great awakening, and So I'm going to share about the Great Awakening vision. I saw one of those evenings when I was in prayer, just praying for the United States, praying for the healing of our nation, praying for the division of just any division, whether it was beliefs, political beliefs, or just a sense of feeling betrayed or hurt or unacknowledged, because I could see the manifestations, the physical, pain of just a lot of stuff going on. For an example, Black Lives Matter was a movement that was prominent, and it, to me, it just seems like that was a physical representation of a deeper spiritual thing happening. And there was pain. Initially, I believe that movement was started because of probably good intentions. So anyway, I just prayed for healing, especially regarding racial healing and reconciliation, and just that God would do it, that God would, we don't have all the answers. And so God showed me that when Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, I saw a cloud cover the nation, especially on the eastern half of the United States. I don't know what that means. And the eastern half of the United States mostly was covered. Maybe, I don't know why, I'm not going to read into it. It was covered in like a cloud, and the cloud was low, and it was a fog. It was more of a fog, and it was a fog of grief, and it was a sleepy like fog that caused people to fall asleep in the spirit. And it happened in 1968 when he was shot and killed. And I just saw the United States like laid out before me like a map, and I saw on the eastern half of it, it was covered in this low-laying, foggy covering of grief, like a grief cloud. And then I saw another just next scene, I guess, of a lot of Black people individually walking into their front door of their homes. And I saw people walking upstairs into, like, their apartment or brown house, those brownstones, those kinds of buildings. And I saw like an individual woman, let's say, walking upstairs, opening her door, going in, shutting the door, and then going into her room, and getting into bed, putting the covers on, falling asleep. And then I would see another person, walking up, like a man walking down the sidewalk, turning into his yard, opening the door of his house, going in, falling asleep, going to bed, falling asleep. And so I just saw several individual people. A few of them were like white or another like skin color, but most people were Black. And God just showed me that those the movement that Martin Luther King Jr. represented when he died, people were so overcome with grief and just hopelessness, and just, now what do we do? Now what? And they went home, and they were so consumed by grief and hopelessness and sadness that they all went home, shut the door, and went to bed and went to sleep because they couldn't handle the pain anymore. And I have felt that way in my own life. Like, it's so hopeless. How do I even wake up tomorrow? I don't even want to get up. Like, I just want to go to sleep and never get up, I've been there before, but this was a nation thing. This was like a generation thing. But then I was like, oh, I wonder what year, I didn't think about it. I wonder what year Martin Luther King Jr. was killed. So I looked it up after God showed me this vision, 1968. And then I was like, whoa. And then the Lord showed me a cloud, a wind, that God was like breathing a big breath of wind, and it was blowing away the cloud. God's wind was blowing off this fog, and he was waking everybody up, and they were getting up, they were getting out of their beds, and they were waking up, and they were coming out of their homes, and they were awake again. And God showed me just this understanding. I immediately understood and had a knowledge that 50 represents the year of Jubilee in the Hebrew culture. Also, it is literally a year of Jubilee right now in 2018 in the Hebraic calendar year 5778. We are in a Jubilee year. You can think about Jerusalem. Obviously, it's the 50th anniversary of Jerusalem being part of Israel since 1968. And this year, 2018, is the 50th anniversary of Martin Luther King Jr.'s death. And I am seeing literally all around me, not all around me physically, but on like Twitter and on the news and like YouTube and like Kanye West, and people are thinking, Candace Owens and Jordan Peterson, and the awakening is literally happening. In 2016, I got this vision, and I was like, what is this supposed to mean? And I just started to pray into it and just pray for healing, especially for my African American, Black, whatever whatever someone would like to call themselves. I've been praying just for healing, and I'm so happy I'm seeing it happening, and it's a God thing, and it's not just intellectual, it's spiritual. It's not just caring about the nation again and what's going on. Martin Luther King Jr. was a prophet. I really believe he was a prophet. And it just like Jesus, when he was going to be killed, his disciples were grieving and they fell asleep because they were overcome with grief. It's the same thing with Martin Luther King Jr. And now, right now, we are in an awakening. And this is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I really believe there's revival. It's here. It is here. We're not even on the threshold doorstep anymore. It's here. So praise God. And he is about restoration and healing and reconciliation. And what the enemy meant for harm, to destroy Martin Luther King Jr.'s life, God will turn it around, and he has already turned it around. He's going.
Okay. So, awesome. Now, she, wasn't aware why. She did mention something about the east side of the map, that were more so where the darkness or cloudiness were, where it were. But at the same time, she mentioned a lot of, great things about this, as far as awakening. So I think, we woke up, a lot of us, and some of us still waking up, but for the most part, doing that timeline, because I woke up in 2017, and I hear a lot of people testimonies surrounding that time, but it's been going on for a while. I mean, the first, I want to say, ones that, the camps were out back in the 60s, the late 1960s. So it's been around for a while. Then there's slaves that knew that there were Israelites, and there were, going back to the 1700s. So this is nothing new for us to understand this and know that we are the biblical people. But then once we learn about Father's ways and how he does things, and then we can size things up and try to, see how what is panning out, what is not. The question mark is that if someone has your writings and they have where they can update, change, or twist, or whatever, remove, then why wouldn't you be skeptical? Why wouldn't you search it out? Why wouldn't you check till the ends of the earth, if that's what it takes for you to see it from another angle? Because the path that of course, well, okay, when they do find out this was what they probably thinking, then they'll still be in a circle effect of just confusion, because They're still gonna have to figure that out, this out. You understand? So at this point, I truly believe is that we need to move in the realm of seeking and searching the Most High and seeing what they have and say how it's gonna play out, and then tie it back to us and search those scriptures to see and seek the Most High to see how this actually gonna play out. Because hey, it's a great chance that just like he wrote and had it in a book that Ezra, well, not Ezra, was it Ezra, or it was Daniel? I'm sorry, Daniel, who saw that they were going to be in Babylon for 70 years. I want to say through Jeremiah, and the truth is that Father could have write out our timeline too, and then which I'm going to take you to next. And I don't know if this something that we could utilize, but they're using it, so kind of make me think that it's something that we need to pay a little close attention to. All right, family. So we're going to go to, so it's called, what you see here is the prophecy of 20 years are 7 times. And they're getting this from the book of Daniel. So before we go up to the graph, I'm just going to read a little bit here. It says, when Israel rebelled against God, the curse of Moses, 9:11, Leviticus 28 and 26 comes into effect. The curse is 7 times 360 days per year. But I know some of our Hebrew brothers, they count as 364 days in a year, and some do count as 360 days. But they are counting as 360 days times 7, and that equals 20 days/years of curse. So it says Nebuchadnezzar was out in the grass for 7 times under God's indignation. Another key word in this study, as far as Israel concerned, the 7 times is also called the times of the Gentiles and the treading down of God's people. Okay, Israel was divided into 2 parts: the 10 northern tribes and the 2 southern tribes. The time of the cursing began at a separate, let me see if I can make this smaller. Okay, might be too small. Israel divided was into 2 parts, then the 10 northern tribes and the 2 southern tribes. The time of cursing began at separate times, 46 years apart. For the northern kingdom of Israel, Samaria, and the southern kingdom of Judah. Because of the rebellion, Samaria was carried off to Assyria, and the rod of my anger, Isaiah 10 and 5, in 723 BC, and Manasseh and the king of Judah went captive to Babylon 677 BC. 20 years of God's indignation. Later, these 2 dates finish in 1798 and 1844. So it's saying for the northern tribe and then for the southern tribe. So it says respectively 46 years apart, which also include the 2 desolations of Daniel 9 and 26. In 1798, this treading down of God's people, also known as the times of the Gentiles and the scattering time, ended the Pope's capture of Napoleon and what is anesthetic France. So in 1844, God set his hand the second time to gather his people. He raised up a group in the glorious land, the United States, to carry 3 angels' message to the world. The 46 years gap corresponds to when the Jews told Jesus that it took 46 years to build the temple in Jerusalem. So then, of course, you see they have, they dates. But let's go up to the graph, because what I'm saying, the 2520, they're timing it time and getting it by 360 days. And then saying that Father was going to punish us 7 times that, right? But I know a lot of our Hebrew brothers go with 364 days. So the point of the matter is that if this is it, are we looking at this prophecy? Are we just still focusing on Jesus Christ coming back, and that's going to be that? And I think what we're doing, I see what we're doing. We're focusing on Jesus Christ to come back, and then have us not focus on anything else. You understand? Because Jesus Christ said he didn't know the day or the hour that Father will come back. So they keep telling us that, oh, the world will come to an end then. I'm sorry, at the end, the world will come to an end, and that's when we will be redeemed and be restored and be delivered. But, so many of the different verses and scriptures says like we will be back in our land, and then other things will happen beyond that. So that's why I'm saying we can't go by what these people have put out. All right, so let's just open this up a little bit more here. So it speaks of the I want to say this is the southern tribe down here, and this is the northern tribe. So the northern tribe, so just look at the timeline, and then also has the 1260 years, and it says 538 AD, and then it speaks of like Rome and paganism, the papacy there, and then below that it has the of the southern tribe, what you see down here, and then it gives you the timeline down here as well, right? Okay, and then it shows you how they got to 844. So, but like I said, when we left Babylon, we must admit and know from that we haven't had a king to rule over us since Babylon, right? When I said rule over us, there wasn't a king of our own bloodline. Other people from other nations ruled over us, even till this day. Trump or the presidents of the United States will be considered a king. So look how many kings beyond 70 AD have, ruled over us. In America alone, it's 45, right? 45 kings. Just in America alone. And that gap that our forefathers were, in Africa, who fled further into Africa, those were other, kings that were in the area, but I can't say for certain that we didn't have someone who like ruling over us or a chief or whatnot. It's like, I'm not sure about that. So just want to make you go a little deeper to see what this is really all about, family. So instead of us focusing on just waiting for the end of the world to come or for Jesus Christ to come, we need to be zooming in and seeking the Most High about this, because this is not the one about the Jewish people, but the Jewish people, they added into their timeline, and which put them, according to them, into 1948 in the land. And they show the world, oh yeah, see, we belong here. Because see, back here, this is 2,500 in 20 years. Here we are. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention, family, is that you can look at this as well. You can pull it up online, and you can see it's a lot of places talk about the 20 years as far as the prophecy there. Okay, because this is a PDF, and I don't think it's going to let me share it. You would have to download it yourself and whatnot. Okay, so I just wanted to bring this to your attention, and let's see, anything else in here. Okay, so just to let you know, this is a possibility that we need to look at it from the timeline that we haven't had a king since we left Babylon. So really, that will put us around about this time, makes about 2520, really about this time, because when starting at AD, it starts at 0 and then it goes up. So we're right now 2020 years, right, on the other side of starting at AD. And before that would have been BCE. So that would have been when we went to Babylon. That would have been around 500 some odd years, that our people, since they've been to Babylon, and from Babylon all the way down to AD, and then up to right now, that put us around about 2,500 years, family. Yes, it does. But I'm not saying that this is it, family. All I'm saying is, the Most High waking us up and woke me up 2 years ago. He didn't have to. There's a reason why. And I truly believe that, what's going to take place is going to happen really, really soon. Because how all the stuff starting to unfold, and the plagues that being brought on the earth, and just the awakening in itself, and, just us understanding this. But to get to this place, just imagine that if you believing in this deity and you upholding this deity, regardless if you change the picture out from white to black, and you're not giving the Most High all, what's to give to him, honoring him, because you got someone, his son that is not his son, and upholding him, how you think he's going to deal with you, or how you think you're going to be able to, get to a place even further in this walk? Just think about that. That's why we must go deeper. I don't want to see none of my Hebrew brothers and sisters, not brought to a place to whereas, because it speaks of the rod, that we will go to the rod. Where we will go up under a rod. And after that, there will be ones that will see, ones will go up and pass under the rod, but others who will be standing there watching will not go. So let me get that scripture for you, family, one moment.